Good afternoon. On behalf of the Board of Directors for the African American Heritage House, I welcome you to Week 2 speaker during this Games, a celebration of our most human pastime. Before we begin with any introductions, I'm going to begin with our land statement. The African American Heritage House acknowledges that we exist on land that indigenous peoples have inhabited for more than 13,000 years. We lament the history of displacement of the Haudenosaunee peoples in particular, knowing that we have become the beneficiaries. We benefit from the violent theft of land every day. To honor the sovereignty of the Six Nations, the Mohawk, Cayuga, Onondaga, Oneida, Seneca, and Tuscarora, and their land where we are situated, we must prioritize the mission of indigenous sovereignty and decolonization. Thank you. Well, we are so excited to welcome our speaker. Our board chair is with us today, as are other board members. Our board chair is Mr. Errol Davis. Ms. Elaine Davis is here. Are there any other board members here? Okay. We welcome you, Ms. Jaycee Holmes. We're keeping with the theme, as I stated, Games, a celebration of our most human pastime. Ms. Holmes loves gaming and enjoys helping others to explore the benefit of leveraging design and technology to create new experiences. She has the enviable position of researching and advocating for playing and gaming for a living. She is the Director of Curriculum for the nonprofit of Code House and Assistant Professor of Art and Visual Culture at Spelman College, where she is the co-director of the Spelman Innovation Lab at Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. She turns microaggressions into music and makes music using her face. If you haven't figured it out yet, Ms. Holmes is multifaceted, having also worked at Microsoft as a framework project manager for teams. She was named to Forbes' 2023 30 Under 30 list for social impact. She's earned a Bachelor of Science degree in pure mathematics at Spelman and a Master of Professional Studies from NYU. She created the first Makerspace for girls at the largest women's university in the world, Princess Noura bint Abdul Rahman University. Ms. Holmes' perspective is that play is essential for life, no matter what one's background, age, race, gender, SES, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, religion, or whatever. Play, she believes, is an inalienable right. When people know how to play together, they learn much about each other. The African American Heritage House endorses, supports, encourages play and meaningful dialogue. We are what I call collaborative co-conspirators with the Chautauqua Institution to bring about a more diverse community here, more welcoming for all people. We do that through a myriad of ways, which I will explain at the end of this talk. Without further ado, I'd like Ms. Holmes to come to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? Now, I live in Atlanta, Georgia, so I'm gonna try this one more time. Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? Hello. And I know what y'all are thinking. Who is this Gen Z person, and how does she make a living playing games? I am so grateful to be here. As stated, my name is Jaycee Holmes. I'm going to start by first thanking the Chautauqua institution for welcoming me and giving me a wonderful 36 hours. I'm also going to thank the African American Heritage House for allowing me to be here. Thank you for hosting me. Thank you for welcoming me. Mr. and Mrs. Davis, thank you so much. And I'm also going to put a shout out there for Spelman College, which is my alma mater and also my place of work, and to Dr. Helene Gale, who recommended that I come here. I'm so honored to be here. Now, you can tell it's my first time in Chautauqua because I'm not sure if it's because it's my first time in Chautauqua or because I'm from the Gen Z generation, or if it's because I work in tech, but I thought there might be a place for a slideshow behind me. I am well inducted now, I have learned, but I do have a slideshow of pictures to show you the work that I do afterwards. But we're going to paint pictures with our mind today. So I'm going to start with who I am. Yes, my name is Jaycee. I am going to use my slide deck to remember where I am in my talk, though. I'm from Sayreville, New Jersey, originally. I've met a bunch of wonderful Jersey people. Is anyone from Jersey here today? Okay, hi, Jersey. Yes, so I'm from Sayreville, New Jersey. There, I grew up my entire life. My dad is originally from Washington, D.C. My grandfather is originally from Virginia, where he was the first black principal of Alexandria, Virginia. Anyone from Virginia out there? Anyone? Wonderful. And then my mother is actually from a country called Panama, so you might know it because of the canal. And I'm going to first start talking about my upbringing and everything that they instilled in me, because I would be nowhere without my parents. As I mentioned, my mother comes from a country called Panama. She was born in a house. I call it a house, but it was in a tiny little village. She is the reason I know that you're supposed to use banana leaves instead of coconut leaves for a roof, because banana leaves keep longer. That was the kind of house that she was born into, where she lived with her 8 siblings and her mother growing up. She started working when she was 9 years old, making bread for the village. She did do well in school and received a scholarship to continue on to middle school about 40 minutes away from where her family lived in a rural part of Panama. She lived and went to school in a town called Las Tablas before getting another scholarship to go to high school in Panama City, which is the capital of the country. There, she took it upon herself to go to the Canal Zone, where she learned English. And as soon as she graduated from high school, she was given an opportunity to come to this wonderful country, where she continued her education in community college with English language classes before getting her degree in accounting from Baruch College. That's my mother. She is the most incredible woman I know, and I've learned so much from her. My father, similarly, well, he grew up in D.C. in very different circumstances, but he comes from a wonderful family that taught him about working hard and the importance of having a good work ethic. He went to school at the University of Miami down in Florida, where he studied music. As soon as he was done, he worked for a public broadcast radio company in Baltimore. Now, according to my grandparents, he was there at the same time as Oprah, and they said that they got to meet him, but my dad doesn't remember that. But after working there for a while, he decided he wanted to continue his education and went to law school. He was a practicing attorney in New York City for 30 years. But while he was there, he was interested in so many different things. He took up photography and actually started becoming an amateur photographer that would occasionally get gigs in our local neighborhood. He took my school pictures one year because they needed someone to do it. And he became very fond of doing live performance photography and did that all throughout the state of New Jersey. And similarly, now that he's retired, he's back to composing and making music. And the reason I tell you about them is that my parents are the ones who taught me that life is short. Life is incredibly short. I'm only 27 years old, but I can already see how there's so much to do in life and so little time, and we need to make the most of it, and that's something that I learned from them. They also encouraged me to try new things, to go out and explore, that it's okay to fail, but take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way. And so that's why I stand here today with my childhood, where I got a black belt in karate. I am a licensed scuba diver since I was 14 years old. I love to travel and explore new cultures thanks to my blended family back in New Jersey. I did musical theater for almost all of my life, so if you want me to start singing Godspell, I will do it, but that's not why we're here. And I'm also an avid or amateur drone videographer, so picking up that photography gene from my father, right? So that's a little bit about me. And the reason I bring that up is because I've learned from my parents also that it's important to find your passions and to find joy. And so I've been searching for joy in my professional career all the time. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't do the hard things in life. You can't only do the things that bring you joy. I still have to clean my room, right? But it's important that we have joy in our lives and we find joy in our professional career. So let's talk about my professional career. Well, as mentioned, I graduated from Spelman College. Spelman College is a historically Black women's college in Atlanta, Georgia. It is a class size of about 2,000 students. I graduated the class of 2016. Now, I did graduate 1 year early because of AP exams that I took in high school, but so I proudly claimed the class of 2017. But I am a 2016 graduate, and after finishing my mathematics degree, I went on to NYU, where I found a wonderful school based in the Tisch School of the Arts that merged the intersections of technology and art. You see, when I was in undergrad, I did not think about computer science as a major. I didn't think it was something that was for me. I preferred mathematics, but my little brother, who I haven't talked about yet, but you'll hear about him quite a bit, he was a junior in high school, and they had just gotten a computer science class at the high school where I grew up. And it was the first time that a Black woman was teaching in the district. She was the only Black teacher that I knew of, only Black woman certainly. And she was teaching the computer science class, and so my brother decided to take her class. And he fell in love with the subject that he calls me with his little squeaky voice as a junior in high school. I'm a freshman in college, and he's like, "Jaycee, you need to try a computer science class." And I was apprehensive, but I wanted to show my brother up because he said he was making really cool things and I thought I could do it better. So I took my first computer science class and I fell in love with the subject. And I knew that I was graduating early, so I wasn't going to be able to get my second degree in undergrad. So I decided to go to grad school. And I'm so glad that I did, because in grad school, it opened up my world. There is this beautiful intersection between art and technology that I'm going to talk about, but this is where I first got that exposure. I learned about mixed reality and virtual reality and augmented reality and app development, all of these fun buzzword things. I was talking about ChatGPT and artificial intelligence years ago because of this program. And it's also the reason I was able to go to Saudi Arabia at 21 years old to help start the first Makerspace in Riyadh, the capital of the country. I was working at a women's university, 50,000 students. All women faculty, all women staff. And it was some of the most rewarding moments of my life because I was bringing 3D printers and laser cutters and all of this new technology that I had not seen before and helping them start this beautiful makerspace that's still going strong today. After I graduated from NYU, that is when I decided I wanted to go to tech. And I wanted to work in industry because I wanted that industry perspective. I joined Microsoft in Seattle, Washington. Anyone from Washington out here? No? Oh, one person? Hi. I worked at Microsoft in Seattle, Washington, where I was a product manager on Microsoft Teams. So if you ever see your profile picture in the top right corner, that was my team. If you have any complaints, I'm not here to take them right now. But I loved that product, and I loved working there because it gave me a good perspective into industry. And I loved the culture, I loved the people I worked with, but it didn't escape me that I was one of the only Black women that I knew in tech. And so I knew that my passion was going to lead me to wanting to change that. I started joining recruitment efforts while I was at Microsoft, going back to local historically Black colleges, going to any school that I could to recruit students, diverse students, all types of students into tech and showing them why that was an opportunity for them. Similarly, my brother, who was now in college and was interning at Google, was as also interested in seeing diversity within tech. And thankfully, we both worked at institutions and companies that were so supportive of that initiative. And with their help, we were able to actually start a 501c3 nonprofit called Code House. And that is a nonprofit that encourages students of color to explore technology and computer science. To date, we have raised over $4 million. We have given out scholarships to over 102 students. And for our high school programming, we have reached over 8,000 students nationwide. Thank you. And so as we were building that out, I got a call from Spelman College, and it was a former professor from mine who said that they were looking for a new co-director of the Spelman Innovation Lab. And if I knew of anybody, would that person be me? Would I be willing to come back and be a teacher? At the time, I was 24 years old. But I knew in my heart that my passion, what my parents had always told me to chase after, was leading me to go back into education and to help diversify the tech industry. And so I said yes to that calling, and I have been working at Spelman College ever since as a professor and co-director of the Spelman Innovation Lab and co-director of the Blackstone Launchpad Entrepreneurship Initiative. So let's talk about what an innovation lab is. An innovation lab is also known as a makerspace. So if we break down the word makerspace, it's a space where you make things. Yes, it's really that straightforward. But the things that students make in those spaces are incredible. Now, as I mentioned, I do have a slideshow of pictures. So if you want to actually see the space afterwards, by all means, please come and talk to me. But let's close our eyes and let's picture this space. You're going to walk into a large room about the size of this hall. You're going to see right in the center of the hall a long table that can fit about 30 people. It's rectangular. It's actually, broken up into smaller little tables, but it serves as one long dining table. Now, at that table, you can picture computer science majors and art majors and history majors and international studies majors, psychology majors, biochemistry students, all at the table working on various things. Some might be crocheting. Some might be painting. Some might be working with wires and programming something. You don't know what, they don't know what, but they're doing it, right? Some students might be looking at a 3D print that just came off of the printer and trying to break off all the scaffolding. Some students might be looking at jewelry, earrings that they just made off of a laser cutter. Some students are discussing, the current news or what's going on in the world or where they want to go for summer break. Other students are furiously trying to finish their calculus homework before their class in the next 10 minutes, right? That's what's happening. Oh, excuse me. That's what's happening at our dining room table in the Innovation Lab. Now, that's in the center of the room. Off to the left, you're going to see 3D printers. These are rectangular, tall machines where students can learn how to 3D model, and then they go to the computer, they insert their model, and it magically starts forming this 3D shape. In that 3D printer, students might be making figurines. They might be making pottery objects, but out of 3D material, or 3D filament material. They might be making Dungeons and Dragons characters, because we have that at Spelman. They might be making all sorts of things. You don't know what the next print's going to look like, but there's always at least 5 students over there furiously working on our 4 different machines. In the back left corner, there's going to be laser cutters. Now, what do laser cutters look like? Well, they're large rectangular machines. They're planted to the ground. They do have lasers, and those lasers are used for cutting 2D patterns into sheets of wood or sheets of acrylic. Students might be using that to cut out individual pieces to form a 3D box, or maybe they're using it to cut out cool shaped earrings, right? They might be using it to create, a frame for a painting that they created. Who knows what they're doing? They might put jeans in there and start doing a cool laser cut pattern on there. That's what's going on in the back left corner. I guess it's my left, your right, but you guys you're with me, I hope so. In the back right corner, or back left corner for you all, there are mixed reality stations, virtual reality headsets where students put them on and escape to incredible universes. They might be playing games. They may be watching a 360 entirely fully formed film. right? Where depending on where you look, it's changing the narrative of the story. They might be over there looking at the galaxy in 360 degrees, turning around, naming the different constellations, right? Or they might be in augmented reality headsets, and they might be looking at the physical world around them, but overlaid there are 2D images. There might be characters that they're familiar with jumping around the room. There might be games where there's little, circle discs they have to grab before they disappear. They're playing games in that back corner, in the mixed reality, in the metaverse. And then down here, down to my right, there's a bunch of gaming computers, about 12 or so. And in those gaming computers, you see students furiously typing away, writing code, building video games, building those mixed reality experiences. That's what's going on at the Spelman Innovation Lab on any given day. That is what I do every single day. So I did say I do play games for a living, but everything I do is play. Students come into the lab and they're scared of technology. That happens universally at any institution I've ever been to. You have the students who cling to technology, that are excited to code, that are encouraged towards computer science, and then you have the students who say to me, Professor Holmes, I can't do math. Professor Holmes, that's scary, I can't do that. That's not for me. At the Innovation Lab, we welcome all of these students into the lab. The students who want to run towards the gaming computers and start programming, by all means, go ahead. If you need pointers, we're here. The students who are scared, they come to the dining room table. They're in the center. It's safe. There's no technology there. We keep it empty on purpose because we want those students to feel comfortable, like they have a space in the room where they don't have to worry about technology and what they don't know yet. But we start talking to them and we have a conversation. If you could own a business, what business would you want to own? If you could design a dress, what kind of dress would you want to design? What are you studying? What are you interested in? How can we turn that into a project for you here in the Innovation Lab? And that is what we do on a daily basis. This past year, we had over 600 points of contact with students. 600 students. In a school of 2,100, that's incredible. And I'm very, very proud of those numbers and the team that is behind the Innovation Lab. I'm so happy to co-direct that space. But we do this on a daily basis. We have psychology majors, bio majors, all of these different disciplines interacting with each other, thinking about what the future could hold, what projects could they work on if they collaborate together. Interdisciplinary education is a core pillar of the Innovation Lab. We want our students to interact with majors that they've never seen before, disciplines that they've never heard of. We want them to learn from each other. That's the core pillar of a liberal arts education as well. And I'm so glad that I get to do that every single day. I'm just going to go through and see what else I wanted to talk about. I wanted to come back to play, right? Because play, if we define it, I wanted to pull up my definition, it's the act of engaging in activity for enjoyment and recreation. The Innovation Lab, first and foremost, is a co-curricular component to Spelman College. Do we have classes in there? Yes. Are we starting to work on curriculum? I'll talk about that in a little bit. But first and foremost, we are there for every student on campus. We are a co-curricular space for anyone to play if they want. And it always starts with a question of what if, what could be? And that, to me, is play. This idea of creating something that's impossible, something that's, unimaginable, something that you don't think you can do yourself right now, and then trying, and then failing, and then trying again, and then failing. It's supposed to be fun, and we try to do that in the Innovation Lab every single day. We encourage failure. We say, fail fast, fail often, because with failure, there is a learning outcome. There's a learning that is happening. And with learning and more knowledge, there is a possibility that the next time you try, there's going to be success. And our students fail every single day. As a professor, I don't think I should be saying that, but I'm so happy I am, because they come in and they try and they fail, and they're not afraid of failure, they're not afraid of trying. And that's so incredibly important. So we encourage students to play. The first day that I was there, and I think I mentioned this yesterday at our small meet and greet, a student came to me and said, what if I made a dress out of fog? I want everyone to close their eyes. What does a dress out of fog even look like? I don't know, but we're going to figure it out. Let's give her some fog machines. Another student came in and said, I have a book, But I want to create an app for the iPad where every time you turn to a new page, a new thing is going to jump out at you on your screen. Student was an international studies major, had never coded before a day in her life. And yet, I promise you, she has a book called Who Has Hair Like Mine and an AR component to go with it. And she has been showing it around the country. She even had a news segment about it in Wisconsin, where she's from. So these things are happening every day. The impossible is becoming possible every single day. And it's a fun place to work at the Innovation Lab. There's some mantras that we give to our students. It's never too late to learn something new. We especially say that to the students who are scared of technology or scared of computer science. I actually teach a course at Spelman called Creative Coding. And creative coding is a CS requirement for every student in the Division of the Arts. So you're an art major, you're taking a coding class. You're taking my coding class. And I always go in on the first day and I ask them, how do you feel about math? How do you feel about computer science? Rate your confidence on a scale of 1 to 10. The students will come back to me and say, -1,000, 0, right? This is what our students, some students, right, have been pushed towards. They've been told that they can't do math or they can't do computer science. They tried, they failed, and they were not rewarded for that failure. And I try to unbreak that every day in my class. I have some examples of their projects, but you should see the brilliant projects that come out. The first assignment, pick your favorite song. You're going to create an interactive album cover for that song, where we can use the keyboard to change colors, to change shape sizes, to move things around. That's their first assignment. Right? Their last assignment, pick your favorite 3 songs. Create a cool looking music video that's incredibly interactive. Bring in your webcam, bring in VR components, create a 3D world for that song. They're doing all of it. And they're learning traditional computer science skills along the way, but with an outcome that they can grasp onto, art, graphics, music. They're having a blast. They're not seeing it as computer science anymore. They're seeing it as, I produced this art, computer science was my tool to get there. And I'm really, really proud of that. Another mantra that we have in the Innovation Lab, you need to be comfortable being a little uncomfortable. I mentioned my brother, he loves to say this, and so I'm stealing it from him right now. But you need to be comfortable to be, You need to be comfortable being a little bit uncomfortable. So what does that mean? It means that if you're every day super comfortable, you're not pushing yourself. You're not pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. You're not learning something new, right? If you're going to create the impossible and make it possible, you need to be a little uncomfortable, right? You need to be comfortable trying something new, pushing yourself. And so we want all of our students to walk away knowing that. Now, I did mention gaming. I mentioned play and this concept of play as it relates to the Innovation Lab, but I haven't yet talked about how video games come into play. And it's interesting for me because I have never, before Spelman, considered myself a gamer. I didn't think that I was someone who gamed. And I had to change my definition of what a game was. And I had to change my understanding of what a gamer was in order to consider myself a gamer. So we'll close our eyes. Who has a grandson, a son, a nephew who sits at their, Xbox all day playing Call of Duty? Anybody? Okay, a few people are raising their hands. Yeah, that's what I thought a gamer was. My brother, to me, was a gamer. I wasn't a gamer. I couldn't do that. I didn't like playing Call of Duty. I didn't like Fortnite. I didn't like any of those games where you get to shoot people, right? But I did love Sims. I did love Solitaire on my phone. I loved Candy Crush. Anyone else play Candy Crush? Yeah, I love Candy Crush, right? But those are games. Those are a big part of the multi-billion-dollar market that gaming is, right? There's mobile games, there's board games. Who here plays Uno? Who plays cards? My family, we play Rummy. Don't play with us. We're very fierce when we play, right? But my mother, she loves Rummy. She's a gamer, right? Whether it's a board game or a card game, a video game or a game that's an app on your phone, all of those things count, right? And they all make up a billion-dollar industry. Right? And it's so incredible to see at Spelman the amount of gamers that we have. Students come in all the time talking about their favorite games. I see students playing League of Legends or Sims. There was a game called Chapter Book or Chapters, where the students could create like interactive stories and they could decide if the hero was going to date this character or this character, right? Our students are gamers. And they love coming in to talk about games, so much so that we now have a gaming club that meets every single Monday at the Innovation Lab. And all they do is talk about their favorite games. And we noticed this interest, particularly in March of 2020. August of 2020 is when I started. But I had already been joining the meetings because I knew I was coming to the Innovation Lab. When our world went virtual, when COVID happened, we didn't know what the future of the Innovation Lab at Spelman was going to look like. How are you going to have a makerspace when you don't have a physical space anymore? What can you make? And so we went online, and we realized that the digital world, the metaverse, was still available to us. And so that's when gaming really took off at Spelman. We would have online Zoom chats and calls about video games that the students loved playing. We had gaming sessions where the students would just start hanging out because they needed social interaction with their peers, and there was no other way to do it, so we would all hop into a game. And then, of course, naturally, the conversation would go back to that playful what if. What if we built a game? What if the main character looked like this? What if her story was this? What if her objective was this? What if we used this in order to build it? What if I took these art designs that I made and turned them into sprites? What if I go over here and build you a script? And so students started building games at Spelman College during the pandemic. And it was wildly successful. I wish I could show you all of these games. Please come see me afterwards. I can show you some of these games. We had students making stories about adventurers who go out into space, students who are stories where characters go back in time to rescue something that has been lost in history, stories that were physical games turned digital. We had one student who was a fellow in our lab. She wanted to take the rubber band game. I'm not sure if you've ever played it. If you have a sibling, I know you have, where you take a rubber band and you try to flick it at your sibling, right? That simple concept, she wanted to turn that into a digital AR game so that nobody could get hurt. And so together, they would work. Together, she took two phones, and they would work in tandem to play games back and forth where you could flick rubber bands at your friend without anyone getting injured. And as a professor, I love that. We do not need that liability in the lab. But in Spelman, we started to see a community forming. We started research programs. We have a grant with Georgia Tech currently. We have partnerships with almost every department on campus, from sociology, anthropology, to biology, to chemistry, to physics, to dance, all interested in making games out of the stuff that they're teaching. So we have a research component. We have clubs. I mentioned the one that meets on Mondays, but we also have one that meets on Fridays for game developers. And the professors, we're not teaching it anymore. The students are teaching each other, right? We also have, what else do we have? We had an HBCU game jam. So when the world finally came back into person this past February, I invited over 150 students from over 14 HBCUs to come to Atlanta, Georgia, to compete in what's known as a hackathon. A hackathon is a 24-hour competition. Those students did not sleep at all. We rented out the entire library of the Atlanta University Center, and they stayed in there and they built games. We had 29 games by the end of the event. And we gave out over $5,000 in prizes. But more importantly, we formed a community of gamers. And they're learning so many things by gaming. I talk a lot about video games, but we are not teaching game development so that they can just go into the gaming industry. Though with 4% of game developers identifying as Black, the gaming industry needs Black game developers and designers. We are showing them game development, not just so they can go there, but because there are valuable skills in the tech industry that are being taught. They're learning user experience design, graphic design, 3D modeling. They're learning software engineering. Some of the best video games have come from art majors and international studies majors. They're learning fundamental skills that they can now put on a resume and go into any industry, not just the gaming industry. And we are incredibly proud of that. I know I'm being told that I'm almost out of time, so I'll say one last thing. Let me just see where it is. Yeah. My hopes for the future of diverse gamers and storytellers and software engineers and tech employees. Of course, I want to see more diversity, more Black software developers. I'm Afro-Latina, so more Hispanic developers, more developers from all walks of life, because I feel like when you have more seats at the table, the apps that you build, the products that you build come out stronger. But I'm also just excited for more students not seeing a glass ceiling. My students never thought that they were going to be game developers or programmers or artists. They never thought that they were going to be talking about things like ChatGPT, but now they are. And I want to see more of that in the future.
CHQ Assembly is made possible through the collaboration and innovation of Chautauqua Institution's full-time and part-time staff, seasonal staff, and many volunteers, as well as participants like you, whose engagement, gifts, and subscriptions sustain our mission.